What's going on, Vinyl community and Kiss Army? Welcome to the 5th episode of Council of the Elder, a series discussing the hottest band in the world with Kiss fans and people in the Kiss sphere, hosted by yours truly, the Record Spinner. This 5th episode consists of my interview / discussion with Rich Kosak, the Paul Stanley / Starchild of the Kiss tribute band Mr. Speed. Now, tribute bands are a far familiar concept for legacy acts who may not be an active entity, or tickets for the real deal go for exuberant prices, so in most cases, fans will settle on seeing tribute bands who do their due diligence in replicating the music and spectacle of said artist. Now, when it comes to Kiss tribute bands, I am very picky, and that's because I put Kiss so high on a pedestal to know what to expect out of the authentic experience, and from what I had seen online of various Kiss tribute bands, I've never regretted saving myself the ticket. But then there's Mr. Speed, who have been in the Kiss tribute game for over 30 years, and Rich Kosak, who has led the group through various incarnations over the years, has worked his ass off to get the group to where it is now, and honestly, where else do you see a Kiss tribute band who have outfits tailored for them, do their own makeup, have a replica stage authentic to a given tour, execute the arrangements faithfully to the given era, and pull out all the effects like smoking guitars, breathing fire, etc. Mr. Speed pulls it all off, and I'm honestly happy that in a post-December 2nd world, I can still get my Kiss fix from these guys to the point where if you squint your eyes enough, you would think that it is the real deal. Now, I have told this story many times before, but I saw Mr. Speed in the summer of 2024 with my girlfriend, and I had been Facebook friends with Rich just kind of by Kiss Army association, and I went up to the stage to take some pictures and video, and he noticed me and he called me out over the microphone. And then when we met them, Rich Hattery, the drummer who's the Fox / Eric Carr of the group, noticed me from YouTube, and I complimented him on integrating the King of the Mountain intro in his drum solo, and he gave me his own little trading card, which was super cool. But anyways, Rich Kosak and I had a great conversation. We discussed his Kiss origin story, why he gravitated towards the Starchild, how Mr. Speed got started, how far the project has come, and we even touched on some fun, cool, and exciting things they have on the horizons in the coming months. I have done enough babbling, so without further ado, sit back, relax, and enjoy. All right, Rich. So let's go back to the beginning. What was your initial exposure to Kiss?
My initial exposure to Kiss was meeting a friend whose family had moved onto my street probably around 1976, 77. His name was Chris, and he and I became friends. And one day I just happened to go over to his house, and his bedroom was on the 3rd floor. So I went up, walked into his bedroom, and there's this poster. How do I do it? There's this on his bedroom door. And I'm like, who's that? So he starts talking to me about it, and he's like, yeah, I just saw them in concert at the Civic Arena. And then I see the commercial for the Kiss radio. But all of that was kind of after I had seen them on the Paul Lynde Halloween special. So in reality, it was the Paul Lynde Halloween special, then meeting and making friends with Chris, and then having him tell me his stories of seeing Kiss on the Alive 2 tour in January of 78. And all of this stuff kind of happened very quickly. And Kiss was everywhere. I was fortunate enough to live through that first wave of Kiss mania.
Yeah.
And it was very, very cool. Now, my first love for music was Peter Frampton.
Okay.
I jumped into Frampton Comes Alive after hearing that come out of one of my older brother's bedrooms almost every single day. I got it for my birthday in February of 76, and I've been a Frampton fan ever since. So he was my first rock and roll love. And then when I saw Kiss on Paul Lynde, I was like, whoa, what's happening here? So
okay. So Frampton was kind of like the sort of foundation that kind of built for your love of music. It reminds me. I mean, Frampton Comes Alive. I feel like, I mean, for any music lover, vinyl collector, that's like a staple. But for me, growing up, one of the records I saw quite often in my dad's record collection was Humble Pie's "Rockin' the Fillmore."
Oh yeah.
That record just rips entirely. So that was part of my upbringing. Beyond Kiss and Frampton, what other artists and bands kind of built that foundation of music for you?
Well, I got to be honest with you. Growing up, what I would do is my parents had this wicker rocker chair, and in the shitty months of the year, it was in our basement. So I would go down religiously every single night, and I would rock in that rocking chair. And I had a radio on my dad's workbench that I would tune between 2 to 3 different radio stations in, excuse me, in Pittsburgh. There was an R&B station named WAMO. Sorry, Dylan. And then there was 96 Kicks, and I think the other one was B94. They were like the top rock radio stations. And I would switch back and forth between those 3 stations. So the Commodores were a big brick in my foundation and are still one of my favorite groups of all time.
Okay.
I have stories about the Commodores. They were the first concert I ever saw on July 28th of 1978. But beyond that, I've got Journey. I've got the band New England, who I saw open for Kiss.
That's right.
Which I'm a huge fan of New England. The first album is incredible. I'm probably friends with all 4 guys in the band to this day.
Didn't Paul produce that record?
Well, it says produced by Paul Stanley, but let's put an asterisk by that.
Okay.
Because I know the backstory.
Okay.
It was a selling point. The band was really tight. Paul was basically like the celebrity advisor, if you will.
He was like the plug man, kind of.
He wasn't sitting in the studio, and he wasn't turning the dials, and he wasn't let's try that again. He wasn't doing that. He was the rock star eye candy that they brought in to inspire the group. But I need to tell you that the band already had those songs ready to go. They were arranged. The band had been woodshedding for years prior to Paul coming on board. And so that's what a lot of people don't really know, the backstory about that. But fortunately for me, because of my friendship with guys like Gary and John Fannin, I do know some of the backstory about it. So there you go.
I was going to say, it's one of those things where I have seen the album in record stores. I've seen it referenced in books, and I know like Paul's loose connection, but I had never known that story. So was it a thing where like he was just kind of around, like kind of plugging the guys along, but just not exactly sitting in the producer's chair, basically?
Exactly. He made 2 critical choices for their biggest hit, Don't Ever Want to Lose You. And the first was he sang harmonies on, I think it was the second verse and maybe the chorus throughout the song. And then he also suggested that the song have a guitar solo because the original demo for the song did not contain a guitar solo. So those were the 2 really, really like critical things that Paul added to the album that I'm 100% confident in talking about. Beyond that, anything that he may have contributed, I'm not really 100% sure of. Maybe that's one of them.
Sure. Fair enough. To jump back real quick into like that initial first wave of Kiss fandom, like you were explaining, like you would basically live through the sort of, I guess, quote unquote, the golden era for many fans. Now, obviously, you've gone on to launch a highly successful tribute act. Was there any point where you may have checked out amidst like some of the changes that fell in the years to come between going disco to pop and going concept albums with the Elder? Did you check out at any point, or did your fandom just kind of fuel you throughout the decades, basically?
Yeah, man. I can sit here and look at you through a camera, and I can tell you to your face that once I became a Kiss fan, I was a Kiss fan. It wasn't because they changed from the black and silver costumes of the early albums and tours. And
Mm-hmm.
Dynasty came, they went with what was considered the Vegas look and the colors.
Mm-hmm.
I was a fan because it was Kiss. I bought
I
16
like that.
magazine because they had articles on Kiss. I bought all those rock and roll magazines because it was Kiss for me. It wasn't like I was sitting there with my I don't know, my copy of Destroyer, and I was like just pissed off at the world because they're no longer wearing the black and silver outfits, and they were singing, they were writing concept songs and all this other stuff. I get really bored with listening to the narrative of Kiss fans in that regard. But for
Sure.
me, when I became a Kiss fan, I became a Kiss fan. And it
Okay.
wasn't, even with Vinnie Vincent in the band, I was
Yeah.
And I'm not a Vinnie Vincent fan. I'll
Neither am I.
I'll admit to you that I've had personal experience with this guy. He is someone I do not want to ever be in a room again with. But I just, when I became a fan, I became a fan of the band. And whatever changes the band went through, I rolled with those changes. Whether they were good, bad, or indifferent, I was there. And here I am. I've been a fan since '76. And I've weathered a lot of shit. I went through the same things that maybe guys like you went through in school, being picked on and being mocked. And
still go through.
that was a living, real thing for me in high school. I was an army of one in my high school. That was, as a Kiss fan, I was an army of one. And it's interesting to me now that I'm 61 years old and I've been out of school for so long that I'm still in touch with some of my high school classmates who have now come forward and said, I saw Kiss in '78 and I really loved Love Gun. And I'm like, well, where were you whenever I was walking down the hall?
Yeah,
you didn't say anything to me. It's just interesting.
I love your perspective on that because, I think one of the fun things that I kind of like, in some ways, like one band that I'm kind of experiencing that sort of that sense of evolution with is a band like Ghost, for example, because they change out, every album's like a different cycle. And with fans like you and everyone else that grew up in the 70s, they experienced that between, with the black and leather studs of the early years, then the quote unquote Vegas look of Dynasty and such. I think that sense of evolution is what made being a Kiss fan back in the 70s going into 80s and such a thrilling experience, and kudos to you for sticking through that. And I'm of the same thing where I'm a Kiss fan because I'm a Kiss fan. It's not because this specific album conveyed this or that.
Right.
If it has the logo, I'm all in, regardless if it's whatever they were exploring at any given time. Now, with that said, obviously you stuck through through thick and thin, whether if you like some musical, shifts and such and whatnot. Do you have a favorite era that you prefer more than others, or do you have one that you prefer least?
Well, I've been very vocal about my favorite album being Destroyer.
Okay.
That is a tour that I think we know the least about. There's not really a full show anywhere available that I'm aware of. There's bits of a Houston show, there's bits of Anaheim, things like that. But it's not like Largo '79 where we've got a full show.
Yeah.
To watch, and you get to see. I've seen one photo of an aerial shot of what the actual stage looked like.
Is that the one that shot up above?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And you see the floor and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, and you see Ace's side looks like the moon.
Mm-hmm.
And it's we see very little of that, and we've seen very little of that throughout the decades. I wish they would, they being Kiss, I wish that they would clean up a show and make it, available to us as fans for purchase. Because I think there's, I'd like to see the Frankenstein machine work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I would love to see, the lightning bolts that shot down over the stage and things like that. I think you can see that at the end of Anaheim and Black Diamond.
Yeah. Yep.
But, it's almost like the mysterious tour for me.
For sure.
I have a strong affinity for the Dynasty tour because that was my first show.
Oh, that's awesome.
The first Kiss tour that I ever saw, and it's kind of funny too, Dylan, because they were struggling amongst each other, and
Oh, totally.
things weren't going well. But I was 15 years old. I was in the sixth row, and it was unbelievable that night. If there was one night in my life that I could go back and relive, it would be July 21st, 1979. I say it all the time.
That's awesome.
I just want to know. I want to know what I ate, for my meals that day. I want to know what I wore to the show.
Give the play-by-play.
I think I even went so far as to look back at what the weather was like, and I think it was 85 degrees that day. Yeah, I know, it's crazy.
Dude, that's great. But you know what? What you're explaining, like, I hate to use the word magic, but like that's what it is. And you know what? And you're absolutely right. Like the tensions going on within the band and some of the performances on any given night, it was just a ticking time bomb. One thing that I was kind of thinking about in retrospect, I have the Kissology DVD, Volume 3, and Tiger Stadium is on there. I'm like, I'm watching it, like watching it is great. You know, they're back in the, the regalia, the makeup, but I'm listening to it and I'm like, you can kind of see how the wheels were kind of loosely put on the machine, but you can imagine for like what the 40,000+ people there, it was the best thing ever. So I feel like you had to be there,
I was there.
really to witness that.
Yeah.
But to touch real quick on Destroyer though, I mean, so in terms of the visual representations, like there's a bit of Houston that exists. I think the full thing is out there in pieces. Anaheim is like the most well-known thing. That I think, if I had to guess, look, I'm no expert when it comes to Kiss video like some others within the Kiss community. I think that's something that they purposely archived because that was such a big event, like a major stadium headline, thing. But you know what's funny with the Frankenstein machine? There is, if you look on Facebook or YouTube, there is synced 8mm footage from the Cleveland show at the Ridgefield Coliseum. And during like the tail end of God of Thunder, you can see like the Frankenstein machine doing its thing behind Peter's drum riser. You see little lightning. Hell, even like the Christmas lights that were draped around like the arena going through, they all lit up during Do You Love Me? It's awesome.
Is that the footage that you're talking about was shot from stage right, like on the side of the stage?
Yes.
Yeah, I have seen that. That's pretty cool footage.
That is such a cinematic tour that you're right. I think deserves its own just centered release between just the staging, because you had Gene's like bloody stake on his side, Paul had the crystals on the front, and then Ace's side had like the sort of lunar moon type setting. Like that is a fun, stage show to kind of follow.
Yeah, they went from, this real stripped down alive stage set.
Yeah.
Bass amplifiers on stage right, Marshall amplifiers on stage left, the big logo and Peter's drums, and then all of a sudden they've got this, big drum riser and staircases and the cats coming up and they really, I mean, when you sit and think about how ahead of their time they were in 1976, it's really phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I know having Mr. Speed for 31 years and doing what we do between our Dynasty stage set and the Unmasked stage set, how much it costs just to create those things when you're doing it out of your own stinking pocket.
That's true.
We didn't have a Bill of Coin American Express card.
That's true.
And so, it's funny when fans say to me, Rich, are you guys going to change to the Elder, or are you going to change to this, or are you going to change to that? And I've started replying to these people, when someone wants to bankroll that for us, sure.
We'll right. Provide the funding.
You provide the money. Yeah, because it is everything we do, from confetti storms that last 30 seconds to, T-shirts to this and that. Everything costs money to be in Mr. Speed. It's not, this is a very, very expensive project to be a part.
I can imagine. I mean, just alone to like the outfits. Like, do you guys get them custom tailored to you guys and everything?
Yeah. My whole thing, my outfit alone which, you know, some people love, some people hate. But when I put my unmasked outfit on and I put my cracked mirror guitar on over top of me, that's $13,000
Oh my
just
God.
on me. And, you know, most bands don't have $13,000 worth of gear on stage when they play the corner bar.
Either that, or if you rent out a hall, you're lucky to make that.
You know, and but by the same token, Dylan, I don't cry about what it is that we do, because this is all I want to do. I've surrounded myself with people in our band who all want to be on Team Mr. Speed. And they're, you know, we all work hard. We all love being around one another. And I know we've gotten off of topic about, you know, the Destroyer thing, but, you know, the just, it's taken a long time to get to the point that I'm at right now, being in the 31st year, to having it be so much fun when we hit the road to go play a show.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine. And you know what? The fact that, like, the passion is the driving force behind it, and it's been this uphill climb for you guys, it's astonishing. But I will say, I can understand how costly a venture like this can be, because you guys are not just getting any random equipment and plugging into a stage and just playing Kiss tunes. Like, just, you know, the makeup alone, the tailored outfits, the staging, and what you guys use. I work for a Genesis tribute band called the Genesis Show, and they are hard strung on authenticity when it comes to the music. They're buying guitar synthesizers. They're buying the double necks, the Taurus pedals. The keyboard player has a spare RMI electric piano in case there's an issue, and it's happened. You know, so there's a lot that goes into it financially to pull that up, but it's worthwhile when you have the reception coming from the crowd, and they're just absolutely eating it up.
Right. Right.
But to tap into Mr. Speed, what made you gravitate towards the Starchild persona?
Well, when the solo albums came out in September of '78, I can distinctly remember. You want the funny version, or do you want the 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 I guess politically correct version?
Please give me the funny version.
Okay, cool. All right, so I can distinctly remember my local record shop only having Paul's album and Peter's album.
Really?
So,
Okay.
so I had gone home, and I sat down with my dad. Now my dad was taking a shit, and I actually sat outside of the bathroom door, and I had a conversation with my dad about why I needed $8. And my dad said that he would give me the money, but he wanted to know why. And I can remember it like it happened yesterday, and it smelled awful, by the way.
Of course.
I got the $8, and I went back up to the record shop before they closed, and I had to choose, and I chose Paul's album. Now, had I chosen Peter's, I don't know which way my life would have gone. But I chose Paul's record, and here I am talking to you 31 years later.
Okay. So now you don't look at it as a case of you would be behind a drum kit if you bought Peter's album, or you just think buying Paul's set you on this path that you were unaware of what was to come?
Yes, I believe I was unaware of where I was headed, but I think the universe told me to pull his album and not Peter's.
Okay.
So that Mr. Speed could exist. That's what I believe.
You know what? That's a beautiful way of looking at it. The universe, as I like to refer to it many times in my personal life, it has a funny way of working. So I think, and you chose a righteous path.
Yeah, I think I chose the right record.
Listen, look, Peter's album's great for what it is, but real talk, you picked the right one. Before we get into the meat and potatoes of Mr. Speed, just to kind of touch base, like outside of that realm, have you pursued music of your own?
I have done that. That was one of the two best things that came out of the pandemic. You know, when the world went crazy, I started to read a lot more, and I started to write my own music. And out of the pandemic, spawned 5 original songs that I've done. They're on Apple Music, they're on iTunes, they're on Spotify.
Okay.
You know, and I'm proud of all 5 of those songs. They all tell stories, and it's interesting as I've listened to my own heroes talk about their songs like children. That's kind of what it is whenever you do create something out of thin air. You take one little riff or one little idea, and then you get together with people that you're friends with or people that you look up to. In my case, I've had some of my musical heroes play on my music, which has kind of been a quest for me, to have these people that I've looked up to play a bass part or a drum part or whatever on my own original music. So yeah, I have done that. And incidentally, today I just purchased a brand new 24-year-old BC Rich Mockingbird.
I saw the post.
Yeah, which I'm very, very happy to finally own. Now, it's not an American-made one from the 70s or 80s. It's not worth $6,000. Truth be told, I paid $600 for this guitar, including the case.
God bless.
And I'll be honest with you, the way I feel about it right now, it was an absolute steal, because the other guitar that I have downstairs is the Paul Stanley Silvertone Sovereign.
Okay.
That guitar was $450 and is one of the best guitars I've ever owned in my life.
Really?
Oh my God. Tonality is killer. Playability is killer. You know, I'm no Steve Vai. I don't shred. I play what's in my heart and comes
Fair
out.
enough. Yeah.
And you know, you don't see me on the cover of Guitar Player, but I've had $10,000 guitars and I've had $400 guitars. And I'll be honest with you, the $400 guitars are the way to go.
You know what? I can somewhat agree, because totally off topic. When you had sent me the video clip on how to play the riff to Mr. Speed, I was just like, oh, snap. And I'm playing it on my little Squire Strat, which I paid almost nothing for. So I totally understand that. Oh, he's doing it. Oh, no. Cue up the Talisman music. So real quick, but just to divert, hold up what you were just emerging on screen.
You mean this?
Oh, God. So, funny story. We were talking about this before we got rolling. I was in California around November of 2023. I saw Kiss in Palm Springs and the Hollywood Bowl with some buddies of mine, and we made the pilgrimage to Amoeba Records. And the first thing I saw when I got there was the Originals Japanese box set, which I knew, which if I had bought that right then and there, I would have had to like wipe out every other record store that I ended up going to. And then sure enough, this guy here on Facebook posts, oh, look what I bought. I'm like, no shit.
Once again, Dylan, the universe.
Literally, the universe.
Yeah.
That's awesome. But now let's go into the meat and potatoes of what this conversation's all about. What made you start pursuing the idea of doing a Kiss tribute band?
Well, I never really, like, I didn't wake up one morning and go, you know, today's a good day too. I didn't do that. I happened to, I was at a record show in Pittsburgh, which is where I grew up. And I was with a friend of mine. I happened to see a guy at a table looking at a Kiss book. I have no idea what the book was he was looking at, but I happened to see it over his shoulder. I made a comment and he spun around. We started talking. And before we left the record show that day, we had exchanged phone numbers. His name was Mike. Mike and I became really quick friends. Turns out he was a really, really, really good guitar player. And we started getting together at his place. He lived across town in Pittsburgh from me. We'd get together once or twice a week. We'd play guitar together. We taught each other songs. And originally, the idea for Mr. Speed was only to be the two of us playing Kiss songs onto a cassette recorder. Because you got to remember, this is summer 1993 that this is taking place. So this was a minute ago. After about 6 months of he and I playing guitar together, we looked at each other one time and we said, you know, this sounds pretty solid. What do you think about maybe trying to find a drummer and a bass player? So I made some photocopies. I went to Kinko's. I put a flyer together with, you know, stick glue and X-Acto knives. And I made this flyer and we found a drummer and a bass player. And before you knew it, we were rehearsing as a Kiss band. But it wasn't until I saw an article in Metal Edge magazine about I think they were Cold Gin from LA, and it was Spiro, Tommy Thayer, St. James, and I believe the Paul may have been Anthony White at that time. So I tore that page out of the Metal Edge, and then we met at a local restaurant near my house in Pittsburgh, and we had a band meeting, and I said, I think we should do this. And we all got on board that night, and we never looked back. But I'll be honest with you, when we started, Dylan, we didn't know shit about shit. And there was no internet at this point in the world.
Yeah.
And there was nothing like finding platform boots and finding costumes. It was unavailable. There was nothing. Nothing. Not like these guys have today. And I see guys today trying to put together Kiss tribute bands, and they have the best of resources and still can't.
They don't execute.
No, they don't. They don't do it right. And you know, I can tell you a story about how I tried to make my original pair of platform boots, because rewinding 30 seconds, I didn't know shit about shit. Okay?
So what was the basis of these?
Styrofoam onto a boot.
Jesus Christ.
and I can remember in Deuce, the first night I wore the boots, which was the second song of the show, the platform completely came loose from the boot, and I almost went right over the monitor.
No.
Oh yeah. And what makes it even funnier is I hobbled over to stage left to have our roadie put the platform back on. So he tapes it, and he's taping this thing back on. And I go back out and I'm playing, and I look down and he taped it on backwards. So the flat end was under my toe and the round end was under the arch of my foot. So,
oh my God.
I have some really, really funny stories about how we tried to get off the ground like a rocket, and we ended up like, you know, a bottle rocket more than a NASA rocket.
Like face planting yourselves down.
Oh, yeah.
You know what though? You know what? Those were the days. They had to have been.
because Dylan, if we didn't have those times, I wouldn't appreciate putting on my $3,000 custom-made boots like I do now.
If it wasn't for those times, it wouldn't be for the times you have now.
Right.
I totally get that.
Yeah.
Gosh, that's great. But you know what though? I totally see what you're saying in terms of bands now that have the resources like the internet and what it provides, and it doesn't convey. I think, like, call it perseverance, for lack of a better term, for you guys having just the bare bones, like, roots of what you guys were able to have access to in terms of people that knew how to make platform shoes or this or that. I think the fact that you worked within a grassroots kind of upbringing with how you guys started out and how you guys have persevered that over time to where you guys are at now, it really does pay. And I think the dedication to authenticity is what really gets you guys by, and it conveys that to a lot of fans that attend your shows. Now, as of right now, you guys are out on your Partners in Crime tour, which encompasses the sort of unmasked staging and the outfits. You guys have the Eric Carr persona being represented on this show, and you guys have a career-spanning set list of Kiss classics. Yes, I spell that with a K. If you could, walk us through the evolution of Mr. Speed in terms of what were you guys wearing when you first started out? What was the set list? Did you guys focus on tour set list, or was it just a general greatest Kiss type of set list? Please walk us through.
Oh, of course. Well, when we started in 1993, we didn't have money.
Okay.
None of us were very wealthy at all. Some of us had more than others, but for the most part, I didn't have shit. And so what we decided to do very early on was do the Dress to Kill album cover. So we went to Goodwill stores and we bought suits that we thought resembled them on the cover of Dress to Kill. And we did that for the first year of our band. And
that's cool.
You know, we never thought that when we did that 31 years later, I would be talking to someone like you about a 31-year career of the band. So after a year of doing the suits, we decided we were going to go after Love Gun because we thought Love Gun they were the most popular during 77 with the Gallup poll and everything. That was what everybody would recognize. So we targeted the Love Gun era. So we went out and we tried to find whatever we could at, I found a tuxedo coat with tails at a Goodwill store. And I found a vest, and everything was mismatched. But we tried to put it together. We did all the rhinestone work ourselves because, again, we didn't know anybody. We didn't know that there were costume companies. We didn't know, it would be crazy for me to think that I was going to spend long distance phone calls calling somebody in California to ask them a question about how do I make this or can you make that for me? So we just decided to do it ourselves. Basically trial by fire with us right out of the gate. I can remember, and I have photos of us putting the makeup on the very first time at our original drummer's apartment. We looked ridiculous, but we thought we were them backstage at Madison Square Garden. I can attest to that. We thought that we looked great, but looking back on it now, we look like four dorks, putting this makeup on. And then there was never a plan, Dylan. There was no long-term, like I would tell the version of the band in 97, hey, this is what we're going to work towards for 99. It didn't. We did it one day at a time. And when somebody would quit, it would take days, sometimes weeks, maybe sometimes months to get a replacement player for them because there isn't a Kiss store, in every city where you can go pull somebody from.
Yeah.
So it took the first, 20 some odd years of Mr. Speed to meet people, to learn from experiences, to have a Rolodex, if you will, of people that you could call when maybe you needed somebody to fill in for a show. And I can remember platooning a guy from Canada to come down and play Gene for us a bunch of times. And we paid him every single penny we made from an event just so we could play the event. There were many, many shows that I made zero for years.
I understand that.
To be able to play shows. And so that's why I'm grateful now when I negotiate events for Mr. Speed and we are paid the amount of money that we're paid, and I'm able to buy a pair of shoes, or I'm able to go out to dinner, or I'm able to buy a t-shirt or something like that, because I was there whenever I was making zero money for the time. And it was a real thing. It was a real thing.
I mean, I totally get that when it comes down to when you break down the business aspect. And again, I learned this because I work for the Genesis band. You have the business guys, the ones that are basically putting in the grunt work in terms of management, musical directors and such. And then you have the employees that basically get paid first before those guys could get anything else. So you're speaking a language I totally understand. And I can imagine how it was really almost tough at like early on when, like you said, you would get guys from, Canada to sit in for a show and you come home with nothing. Like you have paid your dues, dude. Seriously.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if you saw the post that I put on or maybe saw the interview with Howie Mandel and Paul just like 2 weeks ago.
I saw that it was up. Yeah.
Okay. So I found it very interesting that they talked about this 3 minutes into the interview. And, Paul's comment and his remarks were, well, when a band starts making too much money, they have to have a chat. Now, I've known about this mindset that Kiss has had for well over 10 years.
Sure.
And there isn't a day that goes by where I, as the leader of Mr. Speed, am not grateful for the fact that Kiss allows us to do what we do. Because every time we put that makeup on, it's trademarked and copyrighted. And I'm not a fool, but I think there's a lot of fools out there who call themselves Kiss tribute bands that have no reverency for what it is that they're doing.
It takes to pull it off.
But I can tell you that there were shows early on in our career, like 3, 4, 5 years into the career, where we were playing for $150 and we were getting taxed on that money. Okay. Being taxed on $150. So I can also tell you how much money my wife and I are owed for Mr. Speed as we sit here right now. And if I told you how much money we are in debt for, your jaw would hit the floor. Because
most likely.
We've never had a financial backer. We've done everything. Mr. Speed has gotten to where it has gotten, wherever that is in the world, out of the pockets of the members of the band. And let me be more specific, the pockets of the members that want to contribute, because not all members of the band contribute monetarily. Okay, that's just fair. It's just a fact.
That's fair. That's 1000% fair. I totally had a thought, and I was gonna go for it. So it just came to mind now. So the organization, is it mainly just the four of you guys and a handful of roadies, basically? Like, do you book all your shows? Obviously, I know that you're the manager. 6.
There are 6 people.
So there's the 4, and
there's my wife Tina, and there's Rich's wife Angie.
Okay.
Now we do have a close reserve of friends. We have 2 drivers that will work with the band if we need to go across country or down the East Coast to the Midwest. We have 2 people that will drive us. They are paid drivers. They are career over-the-road truck drivers that haul our show for us if, in fact, we are able to negotiate that show, say, to Alabama or to Texas or to Minnesota or Wisconsin, whatever the case may be. But that is it, and I'll tell you why. Because over the 31 years of having this band, there have been people that have come and gone and maybe not had their heart in the right place as wanting to be a part of the business of Mr. Speed or the close-knit friendship that is Mr. Speed.
Okay.
And once they show their side, then it's time for me to play the dentist, and I have to pull the tooth, and we have to get a replacement tooth.
Yeah, just to make sure that all 4 people are on that same page and are willing to give.
Yeah, because we all know that if you have bad oral hygiene, you get sick. So if you have bad band hygiene,
it's going to suffer.
You get sick, and you got to get everything healthy again.
I think it's just maintenance 101. It's maintaining that all the parts are moving in the right speed and direction as everyone else is collectively towards a certain goal. Now, given what entails with KISS, I feel like it does lend itself to having, I don't want to say a competitive market, but I mean, obviously, I say this in the most dumbed down way, anyone can put on makeup and do whatever, but what do you feel sets Mr. Speed apart from the rest of the KISS tribute bands that have either been established long ago or newer ones? What makes you guys singled out?
I think there's a couple of different things. I believe that first and foremost, we have a reverency for KISS and what they have created. They inspired us as teenagers. They gave us a reason to pick up a guitar, to sit behind a set of drums, and to be inspired by what their dream was. I believe that Mr. Speed appreciates its fan base. We're not out to get, we're not out for the party aspect. We're not out for the glamour and the glitz and the notoriety of it. We work very, very hard at what we do on a show-by-show basis. When that trailer door hits the concrete, the 6 people in Mr. Speed go to work. There isn't a word that needs to be said from me for anybody to know what their job is or what their role is to load in the show, prep it, make up, perform, meet and greet, load it out, and go home. I don't have to say one word. The culture within our band right now is the best it has ever been. And I believe that is what sets us apart from the other people in this world that call themselves KISS tribute bands or what have you. I believe that's what sets us apart from everybody else.
And would you say that the lineup as it is right now is the best that you think it could ever possibly reach?
I believe that as the leader of this band, having seen so many personalities, so many different walks of life, so many different agendas, that the people that I have surrounding me right now are the absolute pinnacle that I've ever had in 31 years that I've had of having this band.
That's great. And you know what? Work it in again with the universe. It all builds to a certain point. I mean, just to say that you've had a career doing this for 3 decades and you've reached, and look, the future is so unpredictable, but to think that it all has amounted to this and everything else that you guys are bound to undertake within the coming months, which we'll talk about later on, it's astounding. Now, what goes behind executing the KISS spectacle? Do you guys listen to bootlegs in order to get the arrangements right? Do you examine footage and photos to get the outfits accurate to precision? What goes on behind that?
Well, over the years, there's been a lot of that you just explained. Sure, we look at photos, we look at videos. With social media right now, there are a number of KISS-related fan pages that post photos on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
One of them that I really, really enjoy is a guy that calls himself the God of Thunder.
I love that page.
And his page, he finds some of the coolest, KISS photos. I don't even have to research anything. I'll just go to his page and look around.
Yeah, photographer, everything. Yeah.
Yeah, and I really, really, really enjoy looking through his things. You mentioned the word magic early on in our conversation, and I don't need to hit you with a cattle prod. We all know who we're talking about.
Yeah, anyone who's watching should know.
Yes, this individual whose name is Ross. Ross has always been cool with me. Did I get hosed for 2 books? Yes, I did.
I almost was one.
Yes, I'm out money for 2 books. Yes. But I don't live by shit talking other people unless they truly, truly deserve it.
Unless they really fuck you over.
I'll never go on a platform and say that Ross has always been kind to me.
Okay.
And if you need a specific photo or something, I can ask him, and he will usually send me something that helps Mr. Speed to get to that next step of the evolution, whether it's with a costume or whether it's with a piece of stage or whether it's with a guitar. So, you know what? Did I get hosed? Yeah. Am I salty about it? Meh. Have I moved on from it? Yeah. I waste $300 on other shit.
Sure. You know what, though? Like the way that you explained it, it's kind of a thing of, you didn't quite get the product, but in terms of, I guess, his position as a resource for what you guys need to do what you do.
Yeah.
I can understand that. I totally get it.
I've never walked in his shoes. I'm not gonna say I know what his life is like any more than he knows what mine is like. So, do you? But
yeah.
If I need some help, I can reach out. It's really, though, Dylan, a last resort.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Firmly put. But you know what? It's funny. I was listening to a Creatures of the Night bootleg just before we went on, and I was really feeling it. And I was like, I'm going to update my cover photo. And sure enough, I go to the God of Thunder page to find all my most primo high-res photos. It's so great.
Great.
Now, what are some of the do's and don'ts that you've learned throughout your 30-plus year career pursuing this project?
The number one, don't take shit from anybody ever.
Firmly put.
Don't do that. Okay. Be confident in who it is that you are and what it is that you're selling, and believe in yourself. Those are the things. If you can do those, regardless of what the other voices all around you are saying, you will find your success. If I had listened to my mom and dad years ago, if I had listened to the other people that, an ex-wife who told me that I was wasting my time, cut my hair, blah, 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 I wouldn't be here talking to you right now. You need to follow what is inside of you and what your voice is saying. So number one, don't take shit from anybody, regardless of who they are, and stand up for yourself in the process.
Dude, on a true personal note, you know, I'm about to turn 28 years old, and look, I do my YouTube thing, I write for a website, whatever. I'm having fun, and I'm still kind of figuring it out. And what you just said was inspiring. So that was a real refresher to hear. Seriously,
cool.
That's phenomenal. Now, you guys have some really exciting stuff going on in the coming months that I definitely want to touch on.
Yeah.
You guys are commemorating the anniversary of Kiss coming to Cadillac, Michigan, with a show that takes place almost 50 years to the day that it went down. And it seems like, from what I'm seeing, there's a little bit of flurry of activity going on surrounding the significance of them coming to the city, being there for the homecoming and such. How does it feel to contribute to one of those sort of pillars of history?
Well, first of all, Dylan, Mr. Speed is, whether you know this or not, or your listeners know this or not, we're the adopted Kiss tribute band of Cadillac, Michigan. And I'm very, very proud of that.
Hell yeah.
I am personal friends with Jim Neff. Jim Neff is the assistant coach who wrote the letter in 75. He's the one who was playing the albums in the locker room. I've been to his home. I've drank beer with him. I've seen his modest Kiss collection that he acquired that weekend in October of 75. I've held it in my hands. I've held his plaque that he was given at that morning breakfast. I've been photographed with it. I'll even send you the photograph that you can have, and you can add it to this podcast if you want.
Please do.
But you know, it was a labor of love to get negotiated to actually be performing for this thing. It wasn't an easy thing because there were a number of other Kiss bands that I guess were vying for the opportunity to perform for this 50th anniversary. But what those other bands didn't have was the history with the city of Cadillac that Mr. Speed has. And the Kiss class, which is the class of 76, which was the class that year that Kiss came in October of 75, they're endeared to Mr. Speed, and I'm personal friends with a number of the people that you yourself and your listeners have seen in the photographs. Now, are you familiar with the cheerleader who was photographed with Paul?
Yes.
Okay. Her name is Mary Porter Stubbs. So Mary Porter and I are like this. So when meetings happen in Cadillac and they want to know who the Kiss tribute band is that's performing, and if they hear about somebody else other than Mr. Speed, well, they veto that, because these people know how much we love their city. Maybe other people just want the gig and they want the money. But I love the people of Cadillac, Michigan. And Mr. Speed has performed there at least a half a dozen times, if not close to 10 times in our history. You know, anywhere from an acoustic show at a bar at the ski lodge, to a full-on show at the ice rink, to being the only Kiss tribute band that has ever performed in Cadillac High's gymnasium, which was the exact place that
that's right. Yep.
October 9th of 75. We're the only band that's ever done that. So
that's tremendous. I'm
sorry.
You're good.
There is a buzz being created because I follow Jim Neff on Facebook, and I see his posts, and I see the banners being hung up around town, which look amazing, and the ice cream shop and the cookie shop and all these other things that are going to have interactive things for fans like you and I who are going. I don't want October to get here because I'm a summer kid, but I can't wait for October to get here because I can't wait to go to Cadillac.
You know what? It's funny. I just saw a video recently. I sent it to my girlfriend. There's like a cabin that you can rent out.
Yes.
And look, and we're talking about doing like a little fall getaway thing. And I'm like, what do you think of this? But to take it a step further, and again, we won't have to discuss too much, but like the women in the video that are wearing like Kiss Cadillac shirts, there's an Epic Rights copyright there. So something's coming.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what it is, but something's coming.
Well, I'll be honest with you, Dylan. I'm in with Jim Neff. I
Yeah,
mean, he considers my wife and I his children. So if
that's
that tells
awesome.
you
That's
anything about
cool.
how close we are with him. So for me, first and foremost, I'm joyful for Jim's realization of a 50-year-old dream that he's getting to see come to fruition.
Hell yeah.
There have been other projects that have been talked about as far as the Cadillac story have been concerned that haven't seen the light of day, but I'm happy to be a part of this with my friend up there in Cadillac. And even if Mr. Speed wasn't hired to perform, we were still going as fans, and
You're still there.
we were still, as Mr. Speed, going to be volunteers for the weekend to help fans from around the world celebrate this amazing experience.
That's awesome. And I think just the fact that like you said, like the cheerleader that was in that photo with Paul and such, the subtle connections like that.
Yeah.
It allows you guys.
It means everything to people like me.
It allows you guys to be that de facto group that Cadillac can rely on. So good on you guys for being a part of that. That's absolutely great. Now we're kind of going to jump a little bit because I want to save the big kahuna for last. You guys are heading to Europe around the new year and performing some shows with an orchestra.
Yes.
Now, is this intended to be a sort of tip of the hat to Kiss Symphony, or was this a collaboration that was deemed a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to cross the pond and make it happen?
Well, we were contacted by an agent out of Prague, I believe it was, to be the Kiss tribute band that would come over and perform an homage to the Kiss Symphony performance. So to answer your question, that was the nucleus of this whole idea. I asked him, his name is Tim, I asked him why he chose Mr. Speed. And he said that he has looked at every single Kiss tribute band on the planet. And he said no Kiss tribute band showed him what he wanted to see in a tribute to Kiss better than Mr. Speed. And that was why he chose us. We are going to fly over to Czechia. We're going to land in Prague. We're going to have 2 days of rehearsal with the symphony. It's a 20-piece ensemble symphony.
Cool.
And then we are going to perform 3 different shows on 3 different days in 3 different cities after those 2 days of rehearsal.
Wow.
And I'm Czechoslovakian by heritage. So on my mother's side, I'm super excited about going. Even though it's going to be really cold and it's going to be winter, which I'm not a fan of, I am super excited to be able to offer this opportunity to my bandmates and be able to share this experience with them. I wouldn't want to share it with any other version of Mr. Speed I've ever had.
Sure.
The one I've got now. And we've also got some friends over in Europe that are going to be joining us at one, if not all 3 of the shows that we're going to be doing. And one of those groups of friends are my friends in Kiss Forever Band, if you happen to know who they are.
I've heard of them.
They're a Kiss tribute band out of Budapest, Hungary.
Okay.
Yeah. So those guys are going to be joining us at one of the 3 stops that we're going to be doing when we're over there. And I'm super excited. I haven't seen them since Las Vegas in 2012. So I'm super excited about seeing those guys again.
That is awesome. Is this like the biggest one? Because when I saw it, because keep in mind, like for the listeners out there, you guys are based in the Cleveland area. So like that Midwest, Northeast area of the States is what you guys usually focus on just in terms of reach. Yeah. Is this the biggest undertaking you guys have taken?
Yeah. I think it is. Thankfully, we don't have to cart the stage set over there, but you know, getting us over there, flying 9 hours from New York City to Prague. I've never been inside of an airplane that long, so I hope they have good booze, and I hope I'm able to sleep.
Yeah, hopefully the airline food is up top notch during your travels.
But to think of it like this, Dylan, this is something that I started in my bedroom in 1993.
Yeah,
and somebody in halfway around the world thinks enough of what we're doing to want to hire us and work with us and perform Kiss music for people in a completely different country. When I wrap my head around that, that is a very, very powerful thing for a kid like me.
That is quite the success story
Yeah.
from bedroom to airplane, pretty much.
Yeah.
That's absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
Big Kahuna.
Okay.
You guys are appearing at what is now dubbed Kiss Cruise Landlocked in Vegas. Now, you guys have gotten the stamp of approval from Eric Carr's family, even Bruce Kulick, but knowing that you were going to appear at an officially sanctioned event alongside Gene, Paul, so many other guests, do you think that this brings your mission with what you set out to accomplish with Mr. Speed sort of like full circle? And also, I'm curious, like, was it Pop House that reached out to you? Was it Doc McGee? Was it the band themselves? Whatever you're able to share, please share.
Yeah. It was not Pop House that reached out to us. It was a company out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, I believe, that reached out to us. And at first I was like, wait, what? Hold on a second here. You know, and in all honesty, I've had a friendship with Keith LaRue for probably 25 years.
Yeah.
Mr. Speed used to perform at the Indianapolis Kiss Expos, you know, many, many years ago. I think they did 22 of them.
Okay.
And we performed at 13.
Wow.
I can tell you monetarily what we made at every single one. And if you knew, you know, I think if anybody thinks that we're getting rich by being in Mr. Speed, you're fooling yourself. Okay? It's just not the case.
Sure.
This band happens because we're Kiss fans first and foremost.
Yeah.
But we were contacted by a company, and we went through a negotiation process. We had to fill out some interview questions. We had to provide them some assets, and in true transparency, I was contacted by a guy from Kiss Army Spain. To be honest with you.
Oh, okay.
You may or may not know him. His name's Javier.
Yeah.
Javier reached out to me. Then I also had a friend. Oh shit, I'm forgetting his name. Not Pasquale, because Pasquale's friend up in Canada.
Yes.
They do a similar podcast.
I was on it. Yep, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay,
is it Claudio?
It is Claudio.
Yeah.
Yes, Claudio. Claudio, forgive me. I apologize, my friend. And they wanted me to send them our assets. They, in turn, turned our assets over to Javier and the people that needed to see them. And by assets, what I mean are our videos, our song bites, our photos.
Like press kit, basically.
We use for marketing for our band. And then we just had to sit back and wait. After a few weeks, I was told that we were on the short list of bands that were being considered. And then when it came right down to it, we were notified that we had been, in fact, chosen, and we needed to sign a contract. One of the funny things is, I can tell you that because we incorporate a confetti storm in our show, every single place we go to that will allow it, they're not allowing us to do it at these shows. And I'm pissed. I'm pissed because, Dylan, we're going to get to play for fans from around the world.
Yeah, everyone's congregating.
Okay.
Everyone is.
So I want to give them the best Mr. Speed that we can give them.
The full spectacle. Yeah.
Yes. But they're going to charge me $2,000 cleanup fee per show. Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess it's not happening. Confetti.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. But we're hoping to be able to do all the other bells and whistles, because I've expressed to these people, fans are expecting to see a Kiss tribute band. Give them everything. And you mean to tell me you have a problem using a broom? Come on, man.
or like a sucking vacuum or something?
A leaf blower?
Well,
Come on, man.
here's the thing too, because obviously Gene and Paul are going to play with Tommy and some other people, and look, and they're doing the stripped down, no makeup, street clothes thing, which is fine.
Yes.
I like it that way, but look, for those that want to experience
Yeah.
it, just pull out
Yeah.
the broom.
Well, this is our chance to show the world who we are. And they're putting handcuffs on us and saying you can't do this because we don't want to have to clean it up. So
Come on.
I have to muddle through some of the other things that I hope that we're going to be allowed to do.
Sure.
As we are talking right now, I have no idea where we're performing, what time we're performing, or
Wow.
anything associated with it, because I don't even know if those questions have been answered by the people that are in charge. So, it's getting closer. Every day they get closer, and I still don't know. So,
Jeez. Well, I mean, it it should be an interesting couple of months leading
yeah.
up to when this goes down. But still, I mean, would Rich from 30 years ago think you're going to be playing at basically a Kiss cruise on land, pretty much?
No, Rich from 30 years ago would say that you were crazy, because when they did the first Kiss cruise, when was that? Like 2011 or something?
Something like that, yeah.
Okay. I was contacted and asked if we would like to perform on the cruise, that very first one. And I said, of course, yes, we would love to do it. And at the 0 hour, Paul Stanley said no.
Wow. Okay.
That's what I was told. Now, I'm not
All right.
speaking out of context. I'm not telling a lie.
Yeah.
I'm not making anything up. We were asked for the Kiss Cruise 1 to perform on the ship, and at the very last minute, the plug was pulled, and we were not allowed to go.
Okay. Oh. And what, over 10 years later, vindication has come.
Well, many, many years later, yeah. We just kept doing what we have always done. We pay attention to what the other Kiss tribute bands out there are doing, and we always just keep doing what makes us happy. What is it that Mr. Speed and its members want to do? And as long as we make ourselves happy, we know that we're going to make the fans that come to see us happy too.
Yeah. Yeah. And it absolutely shows with the enthusiasm that you guys have, the dedication that you have to authenticity with the outfits and the arrangements. Like, I remember the first time I saw you guys, it was at the Landis Theater. This was back in 2023. And I don't know if you guys did Cold Gin that night or something, but it's the middle instrumental break. Because Eric Carr used to do the tom groove, the dum ba 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 ba, and I'm like, that's just like it was on the Unmasked tour. Like, I'm picturing myself Sydney 1980, Auckland 1980. That's exactly it. So like, little shit like that, just it makes the diehard in me super thrilled. And before we wrap up, because obviously between everything that's coming up in the next several months, you guys have a lot of stuff going on. And like I said, you're doing the Partners in Crime show with the unmasked staging and the outfits. Any glimpses into the future? Any eras that you might explore in terms of staging or set list, anything coming up?
No, I'll be honest with you, because if those changes were happening, they would start with the guy that you're talking to right here.
Fair enough.
I am so in love with what we're doing, and because we try to do it really, really well. We don't hold our costumes together with duct tape. And you can tell me that you're on the road and you're rocking and rolling so hard that you're and you don't have time to repair it, and you got to put duct tape on it and then go out and perform in front of people. Whatever. Okay. We maintain our outfits. We have so much respect for Kiss and what they have created, that I love the era that we're portraying right now.
Yeah.
We've worked so hard to get it to where it is, and to be able to travel it without destroying it, because it travels in a trailer and it gets banged around, and we have this and fix that. And, as we said earlier, Dylan, this shit isn't cheap.
It's not.
You know, you can have these costume companies in other countries that make stuff, but until somebody wears it show after show after show and puts it through its rigors, you don't know. I mean, you're basically just making something and then giving it to some fan someplace for a Halloween contest and hoping
Sure.
he wins $200. You know, but guys like us, you know, I flew to LA to have my boots made. You
Wow.
know, they're custom made to me. You have to put in that effort. So that effort comes at a price. It comes with time. It comes with, you know, a work ethic. And I don't know if switching things up, first of all, it's not easy to do it.
Sure.
Secondly, it's costly. And I don't know where I would want to go beyond the unmasked era, because that truly was, if you want to look at it, it was the real downfall of the band, you know.
Started, yeah.
And I kind of take a lot of pride in the fact that we replicate when it was the worst, you know.
Sure.
Really started to fall apart. Could we go back and wear the Alive outfits and do something that is more simplistic to create? Yes, we could do that in a minute.
But the ambition of this, though, is there.
Yeah, would the stage set be easy to replicate? Sure. I haven't seen anybody replicate the Alive stage era
Neither have I.
the way that it needs to be replicated. You know, they get close. They think that they're close, but that's why I like doing what we do. Could we do it even better? Of course. But then that necessitates a bigger trailer, again, more money. And
sure.
I'm not in this to go more into debt, but I just want to show you this. Did I ever show you this?
It's the fucking talisman.
Anyway, I was starting to ramble and sound like an asswipe.
No, you're fine. You're good. You're good.
I wanted to show you something cool.
Just show up one more time.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So where can people access Mr. Speed in terms of your online presence, website? This is the time to plug. Go for it.
Yeah, man. Well, go to www.mrspeedonline.com. That is our official website. We love that we have a website that you can look at. A lot of bands just use social media to
Facebook only.
What a travesty. When you go to mrspeedonline.com, our official website, you can find all of our social media platforms. They're all linked to our official website. And on there, we even have an online store that if you wanted to support the band, you can go ahead and purchase so many items that we don't even take on the road with us. At the click of a couple of fingers, you can get anything you want sent right to your front door.
Hell yeah, man.
We're 31 years into this. I'm 61 years old. I still have some gas in the tank. So we're going to keep doing it to the best of our ability as long as we're having fun.
Fuck yeah, man. Rich, thank you so much for joining me. This was an absolute honor.
My friend. I appreciate the airtime, as do Mark, Rich, and Shane.
Fuck yeah, man.
So there you guys go. That is the 5th episode of Council of the Elder, discussing the ins and outs of leading a KISS tribute band with Rich Kosak of Mr. Speed. If you have any suggestions on future episodes and who to have involved in this series, please shoot me a comment down below. I'd love to know. And if you enjoyed this video, please go ahead, give it a like, and subscribe to the channel. See you guys in the next video, and most importantly, keep the records spinning.